welcome to our channel. We are so excited that you are tuning in to watch our video where we're going to be having a post-match series. I'm Aaliyah, and we have my co-star here.
Hey everyone, this is Tina.
And today we have a very special guest, someone that I have looked up to since I've met her, and someone who is going to be doing amazing things in the field of obstetrics and gynecology. Now go ahead and give a round of applause, y'all, to our speaker, Dr. Bathsheba Wariso.
Oh, thank you so much. I'm so happy to be here. My name is Dr. Bathsheba Wariso, and I am a Meharrian Medical College graduate, and I will be starting residency in obstetrics and gynecology this fall. In addition to completing medical studies, I also completed my MPH at Harvard-Chan, and I also was a Robert Wood Johnson Health Policy Scholar at Meharrian Medical College. So I'm so happy to be here and so happy to get this conversation going, and I look forward to all of it.
Thanks for being here, Shiva. We're so proud of you, and we're so proud of all of your accomplishments. I'm going to have Tina and I kind of go popcorn style asking you questions because I'm sure that those in our audience who are interested in medicine or interested in OBGYN can really glean from what you're going to share with us today. So you told us a little bit about yourself and about the degrees that you pursued, the MD, the MPH, but can you share a little bit more about yourself and what drew you into medicine?
Yeah, so if I take it all the way back, so where did I start to get interested in medicine? I actually was first introduced to the field of medicine from watching my mom growing up. So growing up, my mom was actually a nursing assistant for most of my life, and I've seen her go through the process of going through nursing school, studying to get her license. We spent many hours in the library. She always used to say I was her best and favorite study buddy. And she really kind of planted the seed of the joy and the privilege that it is to be in the field of patient care and to be able to service people in that way. And I guess for me, the thing that kind of motivated me to continue my pursuit of medicine also came from my father, who was also the one who, even when I was maybe taking advanced math classes and, you know, once you get to a certain level, your parents don't know what's going on. He was the one who would make the phone calls to figure out who could help me and who could tutor me and kind of continue to support me in that, and has always been my first phone call whenever, you know, ish hits the fan or I just needed that grounding voice. So that's kind of what led me into medicine and kept me here and brought me to the point that I am at today. So I'm really grateful for my parents.
I love that. It sounds like your parents have been a very strong support system for you, and that you had the OG role model in your mom and her role in healthcare. So thanks to her for being an essential worker and everything that she's been doing as well, because she's given you the insight that you have, the glow that you have, the intentionality that you have, and the desire that you have to pour into others who are going beneath you or behind you rather. So it's really great to see that spark that she's instilled in you and the support that both of your parents have given you along this journey.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's so nice. Congratulations, first of all. And that's so awesome. You're carrying on the family lineage. So our second question to you is, what drove you to pursue a career in OB specifically?
Yeah. So for me, I actually was one of those people who came into medicine or came into medical school thinking I wanted to do a certain specialty and then like switched along the way. So most of my exposure to physicians has been in the field of like primary care. So I always looked up to my personal family medicine doctor, Dr. Tansen, OG, amazing, amazing physician. And I thought I wanted to basically become him when I got older. So coming into medical school, I was like, I want to be able to interact with every type of patient and see basically a little bit of everything. And then when I got onto my third year clerkships, I fell in love with surgery and being in the OR. And I was like, wait a minute, family medicine isn't going to give me the OR experience that I want to continue doing. And when I ended up doing my OB-GYN rotation, that was where I found, wow, okay, I could have basically a mix of everything within this field. I can get into the OR and be involved in surgical experiences. I can have long-term patient care and work with women throughout the entire reproductive course and life cycle. I could work with children as well, you know, especially with pediatric and adolescent gynecology. So it was kind of the field where I could do every little part of medicine that I loved and not necessarily have to surrender anything. And then of course, throw in the advocacy on top of that. And that was just like the icing on the cake. So I really loved how there were so many different dimensions of the field that I enjoyed being part of, not only as a medical student, but that I could also see myself doing throughout the course of my future career trajectory as well.
That's so awesome. I like how you mentioned like you like different parts of your rotations and then you found your calling in OB because as you mentioned, like it was a little bit of everything. And that's so great. That's awesome.
Definitely. I like the icing on the cake analogy. That's
yeah.
If you can have your cake and eat it too in a specialty, you found the one.
So I'm going to go ahead and transition to the next question here. What are some tips that you have for medical students like myself who are interested in OBGYN? And if you can please share your top 3 with us.
Yeah. Okay, so narrowing it down to 3 is going to be challenging, but I'll do my best, guys. I don't think I mentioned it earlier, but I'm the first doctor in my family. So a lot of my experience in medicine has been trial and error. And that also goes the same with me coming into wanting to pursue OB-GYN as well. So I would say some of the things that I've learned along the way is, of course, being able to find either an outlet or a person who could kind of be your grounding source is really, really important. I think this probably applies to every specialty, maybe not even just necessarily OB-GYN, but especially in the surgical subspecialties, you have, you know, a lot of different, you know, strenuous nature of the field. So being able to find a way to decompress and come back to it and to try and kind of alleviate potential burnout is really, really important. And it starts as a trainee. So finding that outlet as a medical student will help you when you become a resident, will help you when you become an attendee, when you become an independent practitioner. So along your entire trajectory. Next, I would say being able to find resources both at your home institution as well as outside of your home institution to continue to increase your exposure, because medicine looks different in different healthcare settings. So being able to, for example, if you could come back and shadow at another hospital or another healthcare facility within your local area, if not at your home institution, that would be great. If you have the opportunity to do away rotations and see OB-GYN in a different setting as well, is also really awesome. So that you just get a really good breadth of experience before you enter into the field. Naturally, as a medical student, there's only so much time in the day. Like literally currency is your time, okay? Because when you're studying for boards and studying for all these things, it's there. But being able to also make time for yourself along the journey is also really, really important. Because again, in order for you to give the best to your future patients, to your current patients, also to give yourself the best experience that you can in your learning process, you have to be able to have your cup be full so you can pour into all of these other different things as well. So I think those would be my top advices that I would give to current medical students. And
I really appreciated your advice. Thank you for sharing that. I hope that everyone who's listening takes note, especially of what you said about making sure you're pouring into yourself so that you can pour out into others. A lot of the time we are very ambitious. We are very enthusiastic about pouring and pouring and pouring. But what do you do when that cup is empty because you haven't paused and had that time for self-care? And burnout as med students is real. Burnout as a resident can be real. Burnout as a physician can be real. And so being able to incorporate self-care, being able to say, hey, I can't keep pouring emptiness. I need to pause and take care of myself. So I'm pouring out in a way that's going to be helpful and beneficial to others, especially my patients. It is important. So I really, really appreciate that point, because I think we get this superhero complex where we forget that we're human too, and we need to take a step aside and get some rest and just take care of ourselves.
Definitely.
Okay, and now our fourth question is a highly asked question. So what are just some like general tips you have for residency interviews, and especially for virtual interviews, because we do expect those to stay now?
Definitely. So virtual interviews, wow, this past application cycle has been one for the books, navigating the field of virtual interviews. However, I think one of the things that I learned once I got started was, girl, you got this. You can do this, okay? And I would definitely pass it on. So first things first, don't let it freak you out, okay? Like, don't let it kind of make you start to maybe doubt your ability to present yourself. All it takes is a little bit of practice and a little bit of fine tuning, and you got this. So that's number one. You can do it. The next thing I would say is strategically setting up ways that you'll be able to do mock interviews is important. Setting up mock interviews with different people as well is important. So I would recommend setting up mock interviews with a person who may be your advisor, somebody who knows you really well. Those are the people who can give you really kind of critical feedback on your interview, especially because they might say, maybe they give you a question, you respond to it, and they're like, well, why didn't you mention this, this, and this, and this? Because they know you well. So they can give you that type of feedback that can kind of help you with your packaging of yourself to really kind of give off and express the depth that you bring to the table. So having an interview with someone that knows you really well is great for that. Also having an interview with someone who has gone through the cycle of virtual interviewing recently would be awesome. So that could be someone who maybe they are a class ahead of you and did virtual interviews during that cycle, or maybe even someone who may have done virtual interviews for like fellowships. So they've also kind of gone through a similar process, but they can kind of give you some of the nuance to being good at virtual interviews, such as, where do you look? How do you remember to stay focused and look into the camera as opposed to at the computer screen? Or how do you adjust your background so it's kind of like presentable, such as, a plain background or something that is strategically placed to be visually appealing to the person who's interviewing you as opposed to being distracting? Or how do you make sure that you fine tune your answers so you don't kind of do too much running on, which I'm so guilty of. I'm a real talker. But those types of things, having an interview with that person would be great as well. And then I would say doing your research on the program. This is not unique to virtual interviews. It'll apply to in-person as well. But you want to know why you want to go to this program that you're interviewing on, because they definitely will ask you. And you definitely want to know kind of what you are hoping to get from this program, because you're interviewing them to give you a job just as much as they're interviewing you to try and get you to come to their program as well.
Yeah, that's amazing. Thank you so much, because we do expect virtual interviews to not go anywhere, but that's amazing. So first thing, obviously, you want to have confidence, and definitely that comes with practice. And you mentioned like doing the mock interviews, and actually I saw a lot of posts on Twitter. So I'm interested in radiology, and there were a lot of opportunities I saw on Twitter and like other social media platforms where people were organizing these mock interviews. So I thought like that was really, really nice and very helpful for like your cohort that was applying. So that's amazing. And I really liked how you mentioned like get or do an interview with someone that knows you well. So then I know sometimes like you're very nervous and then you forget to say certain things, so they can pick those that information out and tell you like, hey, don't forget to mention this. And then also speaking to a person that's gone through the process. That's really nice. Thank you so much.
Definitely. And don't forget to breathe, y'all. Like, it's very doable. It is new, but it doesn't mean it's impossible because you haven't tried it yet. So you guys will be just fine. That confidence is key, and the practice and preparation is what helps you build that confidence as well.
I wanted to follow up. So when you were doing those mock interviews, were you doing them like virtual mock interviews?
Okay. Exactly. So essentially I staged it the same way that I would have done it during the interview day. Got my little ring light out, you know, all of the things, and really tried to make it as realistic as possible.
That sounds like perfect. It's like
yeah.
like you had to set yourself up to really feel like you're going to be in the zone for when the real interview is here.
Mm-hmm.
I like that. I like that. Thank you for sharing that, Shiva. My next question for you, which is our 5th question, is how would you recommend that med students interested in OBGYN pursue finding a mentor? But also, I guess this can be a general tip, even if you're not interested in OBGYN, but like you're interested in radiology or you're interested in another area of medicine. They've told us that maybe try to make connections on your away rotations or on your, you know, at your school. How do you make those connections and foster mentorships throughout your medical school career?
Yes, that's a really great question. And it's actually one that, if I'm full disclosure, I'm still working on developing and strengthening myself, is building those relationships and mentorships and sustaining them. I think that's the key thing, is sustaining them. One of the things that I found is that working with a lot of different attendees at upper level, people are really, really excited and happy to help. They love seeing people that are interested in what they are doing. And I think that a lot of people are willing to mentor and willing to support how best they can. So that being said, I think expressing your interest to people early is really great. When people know that you're interested in the same field that they're doing, a lot of times they will reciprocate that additional interest in you. So, you know, whereas they have other students who may be kind of like, you know, going through the rotation because they have to, but if they're like, you know, you want to do OB-GYN, they might give you a couple extra challenges or a couple extra pushes, which they know are going to help you to be prepared for the next level, which is getting into residency and such. I think in addition to expressing your interest to people early, following up with them and making time to kind of, I won't say investigate, but really making time to ask them questions about not only, you know, the medical side of things, but the personal side of things. If people are living a life that you want to potentially live, it's good to know as much about that life and that lifestyle as you can, as you are, you know, making your own decisions and pursuing your own journey. I would also say you can't have too many mentors. So you'll find that naturally, like in any field, there's different personalities. People have different personalities. Some people are, you know, more personable. Some people are less personable. Some people have maybe a variety of interests that might reflect yours, that other people may or may not have. So sometimes, like, for example, I have a mentor who I call, who is like my pep talk mentor. When, again, it's good to have your grounding people, but when something hits the fan and I'm like, I don't know what to do, and I know I just need a pep talk, that's the person I call, right? When, you know, something else is going on and maybe I need some assistance and a mentor advisor who has a bit more influence, I might contact one advisor who has more muscle and could kind of really help with troubleshooting the issue. Or if I have a mentor who is a little bit more of like, you know, a dreamer and kind of an open mind and someone who I could just bounce ideas off of, and they give great advice for that, I would tap into them too. So the same way that different people have different personalities, naturally different people in your field will also have different attributes that you might resonate with more or less than the other. And it's totally fine to double dip, triple dip, quadruple dip. And in that same respect, having mentors at different stages is also important. So as a medical student, I came in day one, even backtrack. So I actually did MHS. So I did a master's year before starting med school. But in my master's year, my big sib was a first year medical student. So I was already kind of starting to negotiate the different, you know, the ranks and hierarchy. And that mentor that I had was the one who could literally tell me what to expect the next step. And I didn't have too many surprises because he was very close to me in his training. And then I had another mentor who was actually a year ahead of that mentor. So this one is the one who was a little bit closer to, you know, finishing medical school and kind of had more experience on the clinical side of things and could kind of give me more foresight than even the other mentor could in that way. So having mentors all along your the hierarchy is really important too. So medical student mentor, a resident mentor, maybe a fellow mentor, an attendee mentor, an old attendee mentor who's been doing this and is, planning their retirement. Everybody is super valuable and has things that they can share with you and that you can also be sharing with them that really make those relationships mutually beneficial to you.
I really appreciate your response, especially the fact that you keep taking my mind to food. Have your cake and eat it too, and now you can double, triple dip. No, but honestly, I appreciated how you broke it down to say that you don't just need to have one mentor. You can have one in, the same level as you, slightly older. You can have someone who's in the next level. You can have someone who's been 10 years in the game, 20 years in the game. Because either way, the insight that they're providing you will help you so that you're not having those, surprises per se in that next step. And also, it's just the fact that these people have a lot of insight to pour into you. And like you said, like when they see that you're interested in them, they want to do that extra step because they want you to do well. You're going to be the future of that field, right? And you're going to be training the future alongside them and advocating for certain things. And so they want us to be a part of where they already are. And so if we take the initiative to ask and to connect with people who, we feel like we can mesh well with, it doesn't matter. We don't just need one, we can have multiple. I think that's really encouraging for us who are in med school, because we might think to ourselves, like, I need a faculty mentor, and then I need the physician mentor. But I haven't really heard many people say, use your big sib here at Meharrian or at whatever school you're at, and let that be your mentor. They're a year ahead of you. They're going to provide you that insight, and then go ahead and find a resident that you network really well with, and go ahead and find a fellow in the program that you're interested in applying to a few years from now, and go ahead and connect with that director and that attending. So I really like that advice, Tina. Like, don't you think that's excellent? A great reminder that we can have mentors at different stages and not just one.
Yeah, that's definitely something my mentors have mentioned as well. And I absolutely agree. Having a mentor at each stage is so beneficial, because you have like sort of, you know what to expect at each level. As you mentioned, Shiva, I remember when I was applying to medical school, I didn't have any mentors. And so I had like heightened anxiety when I was applying. So just having the mentors there, as you mentioned, like different people with different personalities that you can relate to, they are beneficial to you at different times, right? And also, like, one of my mentors, she mentioned a concept of mentoring up, where even as a mentee, you can be useful to your mentors and mentor them as well. So there's a mutually beneficial relationship there. And then the last thing I wanted to also add was, I loved how you mentioned, like, ask about the personal side as well. So like, I absolutely love my mentors. They are amazing, very, very helpful people. And it's nice to just chat with them, not just about medicine and radiology, but also about other things, right? Like, what are they doing at their work, and how are they like dealing with the family life and work-life balance? So it's very, very useful to talk about all of that stuff and not just focus on, what your like further goal is to apply to residency or whatever career field you're interested in. So thank you so much, Shiva, for sharing that. That was great advice. So our last question is anything that just comes to your mind. Do you have any other or like additional advice for medical students?
I would say my rusty trusty, which is, y'all, the sky is the limit. Okay, the sky is the limit. If you see a ceiling, reach out there and shatter it. Okay, believe in your own potential, even if other people do not believe in your potential, because not everyone is going to be supportive of you with your dreams. Not everyone is going to understand your vision for yourself or your purpose and your passion that God places on you and on your heart. And sometimes people have accepted limitations in their own lives, and essentially they end up projecting that onto you, but you don't have to accept that. So remember that your goal and your vision and your purpose is your own. And as long as you are doing the work and you are tenacious and you are going after it, you can get it. So keep on working hard, y'all. Y'all are already amazing at baseline, and I'm so impressed. Like, it's I'm just so impressed as it is. And I think that the future of medicine is in really good hands. And I think that if everyone protects their dreams and keeps on going for it, this world is just going to be a so much better place as we keep on going along.
I really appreciate
Thank you so much, Shiva.
I actually had one question that's not on our list of questions for you. In honor of Black Maternal Health Week, what are your thoughts about how the U.S. can improve to help Black moms?
Yeah, that's a great question. So we actually just wrapped up a recent conference, Black Maternal Health Conference, on last Friday. And this week has been one that I think has been so informative and so helpful for just creating a space where we can really elevate the need to address health disparities, especially as it relates to Black women in the United States. And I think that the biggest takeaway, if no one else takes anything else from these conferences and from these platforms, is the importance of listening. Before we do anything, before we act on anything, being able to listen is something that is, I think, often taken for granted and not as heavily emphasized as it should be. I think sometimes in the medical field, we forget one of the first lessons that I think we learn in like our first year, where they say 80% of your diagnosis happens during your what? Your history, right? That patient history is that important. But in performing that history, the critical skill there is listening. And I think that when it comes to Black women and the healthcare that they receive, oftentimes they are not being heard. Oftentimes the way that they are treated is sometimes minimized or almost skewed, and not so much in direct correlation with what they are telling their providers. So I think as providers, we have a really big responsibility to take a step back, to remember what our role is in patient care. And to me, that role is not to be, an all-knowing giver doer, but it is to be a collaborator in helping the health of your patients. You are supposed to work alongside our patients. And I think that if we get back to doing that and we make sure that we listen to our patients and we really establish partnerships, I think that a lot of the misses or those delays in cares that are both systemic as well as, structural in our hospital environments can be things that can be overturned and reversed, so that we can actually see those health disparities and those gaps being lessened, and the health outcomes of our women, especially our Black women in US, being improved.
Thank you so much for that really thorough and insightful response. I think it's something that we need to keep in mind, even as med students, to just continue to listen to the patients and keep in mind that there is a disparity in care for this population, and what can we do if we see something that's not right to help improve care, so that this is not a continued repeated news headline, but it's like, hey, like, we're doing better in this area.
Yeah. And I would also add to addressing those implicit and explicit biases are very important. We can't talk about healthcare and women's health without talking about racism in America, okay? And I think that the approach of sweeping these big and oftentimes pervasive topics under the rug, essentially they end up rearing their head in different ways. So I think that being able to call things for what they are, being able to standardize our approach and be intentional about addressing the implicit, explicit biases in healthcare practice, as well as in healthcare access issues in our country, are things that also will need to be addressed fully in order for us to see the outcome that we want, which is better health for everyone in our country, and especially for our minority and African American moms.
So true. So true. Thank you so much for that. I can't thank you enough, Sheba. So thank you for being a part of our post-match series. I mean, it's something that's dear to us because I'm interested in OB, but both Tina and I have been able to learn from your responses. And then the next time we'll do a post-match where Tina's interviewing someone who matched radiology, and I'll get to learn as well. So we're just really grateful for you, proud of you, and cheering for your continued success.
Thank you guys so much. And I'm proud of you guys and cheering y'all along. I know y'all are about to be doing amazing things, and I'm happy to be part of this journey, even in this small way. So thank you guys so much for the opportunity.
You're welcome. Thank you again. And if you guys have any questions for Sheba or anything that comes to mind that you really wanted to know about OBGYN, finding a mentor, doing well on rotations, anything that wasn't covered in this video, go ahead and drop it down below in the comment section and we'll get back to you, okay?
Thanks so much, guys, for watching our video. We hope you learned a lot from it, and we'll see you in our next video. Bye.